from a bloomin' lovely week.
Hello and welcome to the highlights from the Royal Horticultural Society's Chelsea Flower Show 2023, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
It was a glorious week. Everyone pulled out all the stops.
And the weather was kind to us. It really feels like summer is finally here, Sophie.
It has been absolutely fantastic. It wasn't quite so kind in the run-up to the show, though, was it? The 3 weeks that they spent building all these gardens. I mean, they had torrential rain, mud for quite a lot of it.
A nightmare build. And also the nurserymen, they didn't know whether it was going to be hot or cold. A lot of getting the flower timing just right is so tricky. But these guys are magicians. And as the weeks progress, a lot of these gardens have just got better and better.
And the crowds have loved it. Huge crowds here this week. And so many gardens to see. Such variety. 36 gardens in total. And they've loved it, haven't they?
Yeah, variety, quality, weather. We've had a great week. It's been wonderful, isn't it?
Well, we certainly had a great start to the week as the gates opened and some lucky celebrities got their first glimpse of the showground.
My wife is a gardener, so Chelsea really is one of our favourite days. It's a great treat.
It's mind-boggling, really. I mean, just the skill and the way that these designers can manipulate a space.
And I think what they do here is spectacular. And it's like a dream come true. What they do, they're artists, really. And it's just, you know, around every corner there's a wonder.
So yeah, I brought my folks to come and wander around. It's really special. I like it a lot.
My first time, absolutely loving it. It's just an amazing experience.
We've been having a lovely day out. It's a great place for sons to take their mothers.
I'm a big plant person. I'm sort of someone who keeps on going around going, and would that work now well in a shrub in the dark without any care? Lovely. Can I have that one?
Well, I'm sort of more fruit and veg really, but my wife's a big gardener. She's a garden designer, so so our garden at the moment is full of builders.
I do love it. Aren't we lucky to be here? And not raining. And on a beautiful warm day, actually.
It's kind of not sunny, but really boiling. So I'm just sweating in people's gardens at the moment. I went into a shed full of mushrooms and it was too hot.
I haven't left since last year. So lovely to see everyone enjoying the show and having such a great time here.
Yeah, there's been such a diverse range of gardens this year too, from huge structures to mountain landscapes and havens for wildlife. And one returning designer created a garden with a fully working kitchen in it.
Yes, Mark Gregory even put on a lunch every day for the Chelsea pensioners. I took an early look just before the show opened. It has been completed in less than 3 weeks, but already it looks like it's been here forever. And what he's created is this intimate walled garden with the glass veranda and this open-aired dining area, seasonal dining area, but the table is laid ready for the first Chelsea pensioners who are going to be able to come here and have lunch. And there's an exquisite attention to detail, this wonderful water feature here. It's a traditional garden full of roses and peonies, irises, euphorbia, but as you move towards the front, there is, of course, all these vegetable beds, very important vegetable beds, Mark Gregory, aren't they? Because this is what is going to be feeding the Chelsea pensioners this week. Have a seat, because you must be exhausted after all this.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a blur, really.
A bit of a blur. Are you pleased?
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. I've had this in my head for the last 3 years. and it's just turned out exactly as I wanted it to. Really a lovely, full of lots of detail, but the whole thing about bringing a chef to Chelsea and actually cropping out of the garden and showing people what to do with vegetables and where food comes from and things like that is great.
You've got edimentals in this garden. Explain what you mean.
Well, edimentals is where we, when does a vegetable become an ornamental plant? So we're actually placing the vegetables that are really pretty actually in the ornamentals, so it becomes an edible ornamental plant. So things like the chives, the sages, the fennels, and that fusion is what we try to do.
And your chef is literally going to be using some of this that you've planted here to make the lunches.
Yes.
What's going to happen? Are we going to have empty flower beds by the end of the week?
Well, we've got a lot of stock behind the stand, and he'll take the stock, but he will take things out, and they'll make all these pestos, these sauces,
Do you know
these
what
cocktails.
he already is? Because I've just been in there and it smells spectacular. He's got some roasted garlic going there.
For me, it's just about theatre and education and educating the public and just transporting the public into a magical space.
Well, I think it's going to be wonderful, and it'll be great to see the first Chelsea pensioners there. This is, after all, their back garden.
And that's never been done before, but I actually think it's theatre with plants is how I describe this garden. And, suspension of belief, that you just said, how it's being done. And I love that. I love to see the buzz of the public.
Well, tomorrow we get the audience here as well to see what you've created. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Every year at Chelsea, it's exciting to see what designers are doing when it comes to their planting styles. And it sometimes takes a while to filter through, but it certainly has long set the trends for our own gardens at home. Francis went to take a look at what's in the zeitgeist this year.
At the forefront of horticulture, the Chelsea Flower Show is where we all come to see the new and emerging trends in the gardening world. And of course, it's about the overall design, but really it's all about the planting and how those plants have been used to hold the space together, create an atmosphere, and also how they're used to define the style of the gardens. Having been here for only 24 hours, I can already see that there's a really overwhelming theme of a certain colour scheme at Chelsea this year, and that is greens, whites, and then these pops of magenta. Now here, you can see they've really used that well, and it's a small space, so it just goes to show that even those of us with small gardens can do something like this. There's lots of different kinds of whites used throughout this garden, things like Achillea millefolium here, but this year, that's all been added to with this magenta. It's a kind of bold, dramatic addition. And it gives a sort of sense of faded glory. Classics like Circe and Lovely, except that they may have a value for us as well. Whether it's edibility, so things like sorrel, plantain, there is a use for some of these plants. And there is an aesthetic to them. Look at this hawkbit with its beautiful yellow flower. Now clearly the aesthetic of weeds all around Chelsea has been fully embraced this year. But now we have to work out if we can do it in our own gardens. But I can tell you from experience that growing weeds is actually a very challenging thing to do. So they may look like they've just appeared here, but an awful lot of work has gone in to making these gardens look the way they do.
Well, there is definitely looser planting this year at Chelsea. They even use the word weed. When is a weed a weed?
Well, the RHS is trying to reclassify it and not call it weeds, but I think it's got something to do with their president being called Keith Weed.
Great name.
Look, a weed is only a wildflower, and it's only a problem if it becomes invasive. So I think we should embrace, weeds and wildflowers into our gardens. Anything that's good for the environment and sustainability.
The RHS is even trying to encourage you to have weeds in your lawn.
Well, we haven't seen one manicured lawn in any of the show gardens here this year, which I think is a great thing. Loads and loads of plants, even in the centre space of a garden, and that's what we want. It's so much better for biodiversity.
Well, for many of us, Chelsea is still about the traditional classics. Carol Klein went to check out if they were still holding court in the Great Pavilion.
Chelsea marks the start of the summer, and the Great Pavilion is packed to the rafters with all our favourite flowers. It's like a floral sweet shop. It's time to celebrate those classic flowers that usher in the new season. What could be more classic than a rose? Roses have been grown by every civilization, but they've never been more popular than they are today. But our ways of growing them have changed. For a start, if we've got small gardens, we can find container roses, which are absolutely brilliant and flower for a long, long period. But the modern way to grow roses, the way we're growing them now, is to mix them with herbaceous perennials and grasses. After all, that emulates the way that roses grow in nature. Everything in that mixture is happy, but the plant that shines out is always going to be the rose. Aren't they magnificent? Nothing beats a delphinium for blueness and for height and stature. These are all forms of Delphinium elatum. Its forebears came from the Swiss mountains, so it really withstands cold brilliantly well. And of course, we've had a couple of very, very cold spells this winter, which means that they're absolutely blooming marvellous. They're easy to grow too. And there's no way you can spoil them. They love lots of good organic matter and a good mulch too. And if I've got to choose one, it has to be Amadeus. Positively symphonic. Foxgloves galore on this glorious naturalistic stand. Aren't they wonderful? Everybody recognises foxgloves. They're a familiar sight. Those great big trumpets with those spotted throats, always growing along hedgerows in shady places. But there are exceptions to the rule, and here's one of them. This is a foxglove called silver fox. And you don't just want to look at it, you want to touch these leaves. They're gloriously soft and felty. Now usually that's a sign that a plant loves living in sunshine, and that's the case here too. An unusual foxglove, grow it in belting hot sun, it'll be absolutely fine. But if you want to keep it over the winter, perhaps it's a good idea to actually pot it up and protect it from the wet. But there are loads of varieties of our favourite plants that can cope with the hot, dry summers that we're being told to expect.
Always a joy to see the riot of colour in the Great Pavilion. Now, Medals Day is such an important one at Chelsea for the garden designers and exhibitors because it has taken months, probably years, to get here. This year was as exciting as ever as Nikki Chapman and Nick Bailey joined the RHS on the showground to hand out the all-important medals.
It's 7 a.m. It's Medals Day, and my goodness, you can feel the nerves, Nick, can't we?
You really can, and I know exactly how these designers are feeling. Absolute trepidation. They're about to be judged by the world.
They certainly are. And I'm going to be joined by Sarah Pole from the RHS. So, shall we get started?
Let's go.
Come on.
Just delighted to present you with a gold medal. Silver medal. There we go. I'm delighted to present you with a gold delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Okay,
well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Yes!
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Thank you very
well
much.
Done.
Thank you.
This space is put together by one of my absolute design heroes, Cleve West. It is the centre point garden, and extraordinarily, he has achieved 6 golds at Chelsea before. Good luck, Cleve.
I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal. On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal.
And you officially get the biggest cheer as well.
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Oh,
well
thank you
done.
very much.
A gold medal. I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Well done! Hooray! We did not expect this.
Joe Laura, amazing. massive congratulations. You are allowed to cry. There are you full permission.
I'll cry later.
First time here, and you got a gold medal.
I'd like to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done. Well done. I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done.
This is the biophilic Otsu Hanari garden by famed Chelsea garden designer Mr. Ishihara. Now, it's a fabulous garden and he has won 11 golds in the past. Could be up for another one now.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Oh, that medal dash, it is always so nerve-wracking. Well, this garden did get gold, a letter from a million years past by Jihei Wang, and I've got to say, it is definitely one of my favourites. It's absolutely exquisite in here, isn't it?
It's beautiful, the artistry, it's wild, but it's gardened, and when you're on it, you feel as if you have been transported somewhere else. It's great. One of my favourites is Sarah Price's. It's absolutely stunning. You know, it's got a whole new palette of plants I haven't really seen, the colour palette that I haven't seen at Chelsea before.
Beautifully done.
And the composition, the artistry, everywhere you look, there's a new picture.
She is a true artist, isn't she?
She really is, yeah. Well, there's another garden that didn't quite get gold, that certainly got a lot of people talking this week because of the message behind it, and that's the Samaritans Listening Garden. Rachel went to take a look.
This is the Listening Garden. It marks the 70th anniversary of the Samaritans. It's designed to be a place of comfort, but it also explores the wide range of feelings that are often felt by those seeking help. And as soon as you come into the garden, you get the sense that it very much has two different atmospheres. Here at the front, it's very heavy, very strong. You've got this wonderful rusted metal support, and from it suspended these concrete slabs, beautifully shaped, but they're on these very slender wires, so you already feel a little bit uneasy that they might just drop. And at your feet, the ground might open up. There are these big fissures going through it. You can't actually see the bottom, but you can hear the trickle of water, so it's all again a little bit unnerving. In the planting as well, we've got some really hostile looking plants. Everything is thorny. Look at the thorns on this rose. And then we've got the Aurelia, also very spiny down through there, and Carokia, which has lots of sharp angles in it, so twists and turns, again making you feel uncomfortable. But then you move into this space, it feels calmer, much more open, much brighter, and the mood really begins to change. Darren, it's extraordinary actually how, as you move through the garden, you sort of get a story developing. What was your thinking there?
I wanted to try and convey the journey that some of our callers go through. So the sort of trepidation of making a call, the feelings and thoughts they might have that have spurred them to call Samaritans, and hopefully the kind of calm that we can sometimes bring about at the end of a call is caught in this space we're in now.
So how have you actually made that come about? I mean, is it through the use of plants, through the materials?
I think it's everything. I mean, it's sort of layout. Clearly the front of the garden is quite claustrophobic, these sort of big hanging sheets of concrete. It's far more beautiful than I expected, but it's kind of slightly oppressive. Yes. And then this softer sort of woodland planting at the back. It's very much a kind of woodland glade, overhanging tree. Simple things, but it's created a real atmosphere.
And I know that you've trained to become a listening volunteer yourself, which is wonderful. I mean, how has that fed into the design for the garden?
Yeah, it's obviously very personal reasons anyone gets involved with that, but the voices and the conversations that you have stayed with me, and there was months and months of work shaping all of this concrete, which I all did myself, and every one of those calls has fed that process. It's sort of, it's a real privilege to be able to take those calls.
You do very much get the sense that there's heart and soul gone into this garden, that it's very important to you, and I think it's a triumph. Well done, and I hope you have a brilliant week at the show.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Darren on his silver gilt medal. That's very well deserved. Great garden. Well, many of the gardens this year are picking up on environmental themes, how we should all think about being more sustainable in the way that we garden. Adam Frost went to see the RHS feature garden created by Manoj Malde, which is a community space that has green credentials at the heart of its design.
The Chelsea Flower Show is full to the brim with beautiful gardens. But what lies beneath that beauty? Gardening is changing. We have to be more sustainable, think about the environment. So the materials we choose, the plants, and of course the way we build is becoming so much more important. This is an RHS feature garden and it's designed by Manoj Malde. And it's bright and definitely colourful. This is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but if you look closely, it's that colour that is holding this garden together. Look at that. That is a braille post. They relate to the fence and the pergola. This garden breaks into three main spaces, softly done at that, but at the end there's a quiet area. Give me just time to reflect. Here, it's about entertaining. At the end, you've got the arbour providing that dapple shade, but also the opportunity just to get some climbers growing. In front of me, that surface is totally permeable, so as it rains, it goes down and it soaks back into the ground, so there's not any runoff. And then we look at the planting. There's one group of plants that have popped up, and that's the annuals, the biannuals, and the short-lived perennials. First of all, you think, well, that's not really sustainable. You're going to be planting them all the time, but actually, in reality, these plants come up, they seed. The seed goes back into the ground. Whatever happens that winter, they will come up the following year. So that's a plant that I've definitely knew very much about sustainability. And I can see here, you know, you've got permeable surfaces. But what other features have you got in the garden about sustainability? Because I know you've got community, but what about sustainability?
So all the timber has been sourced from sustainable sources. So they've all come from managed forests. The large limestone slabs. We've been very sustainable with the waste because what we did, rather than chuck the waste away, we've had them cut into these small slivers, these sets, and we've used them back in the design of the garden.
And you talk about the recycle as well, and the old, you know, the oil tanks, you've decorated them.
That's it. So what I did was I wanted to upcycle old oil drums, and I put out a post that I was seeking artists to come in and individualise each drum, and that's how communities come together.
That's right.
You know, it is this space is for them to share.
When you
sometimes in a garden, it's not the size of space that matters, but what you do with it. And the doorstep library garden is a perfect example of continuity. All the materials in it are timber. Very aptly for a garden about a library, the planting has been bookended, and it's such a simple principle to copy. Keep the centre of a small space open, makes the garden feel bigger, and you've got useful room in the middle. Behind the ferns, there are mirrors. Now you can pick these up from charity shops. Now create the illusion that your garden is twice the size that it is. And I particularly like this. Though you might not get flowery petunias growing in the shade, you can get maidenhair ferns. Wrap up the root ball in a bit of compost, hold that in place with chicken wire and hide the wire under moss. And you've got these beautiful sort of oriental themed planters. Yeah, perfect for a shady spot. The restorative balcony is full of neat and tidy ideas for small spaces. I mean, shelves, they're not just a storage solution, they bring plants up to eye level where you can enjoy them. And if you can put them up in the house, you can put them up in the garden. I also love the pergolas. They bring your plants up out of the ground, above your head. This is just a simple L shape of timber fixed to the wall and the ground. But it's the planting. I mean, this has got cottage garden charm in spades, isn't it? And all these things are easy to grow just for the cost of a pack of seeds. And when you take a perch behind them, yeah, sure, you're on a balcony, but it feels like you're in a country cottage garden in the sky.
Thanks, Toby. Some really ingenious ideas there. But even if you've got no outside space at all, Chelsea's got you covered. Arit Anderson discovers the latest cool ideas in the world of houseplants.
Our love of houseplants is certainly not fading. Last year, 1 in 3 of us bought a houseplant. That's on average 2 every month. And it's the 18 to 24-year-olds who are the biggest spenders. This year, there are 6 studios here at Chelsea, packed full of inspiration to show us the very best in houseplant design. Imagine this is your work or play space. Fantastic studio, especially when the plants are centre stage. And what the designer has done here is given us this showcase living wall of tropical plants to show us how different plants need different light levels. What's really clever is that they've put all of the variegated leaves toward this end of the wall where there's more light. And as you come down, the leaves are getting darker and more solid, and that means that these plants require less light. Many of these plants start their life on the jungle floor. It's going to be much more shady. So in our homes where the light levels are lower, you can be sure that these plants are going to survive. Now, if you want to carry on with that jungly theme and bring it outside, there are a couple of those plants that live normally indoors that can cope with a little bit of shady shelter. Things like this Tradescantia nanook, or these chlorophytums. You could mix them in with some ferns and have them kind of sheltered near to the home. And the great thing is that all of the tropical plants in this studio have been grown here in the UK. Now, if you're looking for something a little less traditional, I think the inspiration in here is really pushing the boundaries. This is where you can take houseplants to another level. What the designers have done is using a clay-based substrate planted into it, things like this frothy asparagus, and then taken driftwood and stone and sand to create this really impactful art piece. If you've got houseplants and are feeling a little bit more confident, then push the boundary, think out of the box, and maybe you could end up creating something like this.
I think it's great. People gardening in any space at all. Don't even need to have a garden. You could have a balcony, a container, indoors, succulents, house plants. People just want to grow because of the benefits.
And there are so many ideas that you can take away from Chelsea, aren't there? Particularly this year. So many small gardens with ideas that you can very easily do at home.
Yeah, and a large garden, you can just take a small section of it and think, okay, you know, underneath that tree, I could plant those shade-loving plants, and they'll often work. It's all about inspiration.
I quite like to take some of this garden away. I might just have that corner there, if that's all right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Chris's garden, but I know him quite well. I'll have a word.
I'm not sure he's going to be too happy if I dig all that up.
Well, there's plenty more tonight on the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
But first, let's look back at some of the great guests who joined us over the last week. Here are just some of the famous faces we met.
Welcome to
Thank
Chelsea.
you so much.
And this is a huge day for you because you come nearly every year, don't you?
I literally chisel it in. The only time I don't come is when I'm actually filming abroad. Otherwise, I always say it's a day I've got to be not available for work because I've got to come to Chelsea.
And we're so lucky to come on the Monday.
We're so lucky to come. I mean, that sounds awful because people will be coming during the week and the excitement. And I've got to say the beauty of the gardens, I've been asking people, will this last the week? And particularly lilies inside the big tent. They said they're all going to last the week. It's perfect. And today is perfect weather. Slightly overcast, so not boiling hot. A mild breeze, but not a wild wind, and no rain, so it's ideal.
But I'm guessing over the years you've seen a real change here.
In Chelsea, the whole thing has changed because it used to be just competitions for the most beautiful garden. That was what it was. And now it's changed into all kinds of different things with themes and ideas. And you learn so much about all kinds of conditions. Climate is changing, so let's change the way we plant our gardens.
Absolutely.
Let's have plants that can survive in the dry or in the extreme wet,
Yes.
things that can thrive. So don't go boo-hoo, these things are changing. Say, let's move on, let's adapt
work
to it.
with it.
Tell me a bit about where you grew up in Wiltshire and the impact it had on your love for gardening.
So I grew up, I was very fortunate to grow up in a little tiny village called Laycock in Wiltshire. And my parents were keen gardeners, my grandparents were keen gardeners. So I feel like it's slowly, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get more and more interested into the whole gardening world. And like I said, I was very fortunate to grow up in a lovely garden.
Yeah.
We had a pond, we had like lovely borders, a lot of time was spent on the garden. And I think it's something that I think when I was younger, probably didn't appreciate as much because I was into things like football, which is the worst thing for a garden, booting balls at plants and stuff. Sorry, Mum. But now, as I'm older, I look back and I really appreciate the fact that I did grow up in such a lovely area that had beautiful gardens.
You've got a car in the front and a ship in the back. Explain that.
Well, the ship was, we had a beautiful conifer tree, massive, and then a tree surgeon came along to help me control it and ended up sort of chopping half of it off, and it looked terrible. So we thought, what can we do? We don't want to get rid of it because it's still. So we thought, is there a way to turn it into a tree house? And then the gardener at the time had the idea to build a ship. A pirate ship.
Of course.
So why wouldn't we?
Why
Do you know
wouldn't
what? And I think I was playing Captain Hook at some point. I thought, why not? Let's have a pirate ship. And then in the front garden, I've got Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That's what was hard to say after a couple of them.
And welcome back to Chelsea, Kim.
Oh, the greatest show on earth. I love Chelsea.
We are so lucky, aren't we, to be sitting here in this magnificent garden.
Yeah,
but
privilege.
Being next to you, it's a little bit of deja vu because we worked together. Now, what was it, late 80s, early 90s in the music industry?
Yeah, I was doing Top of the Pops and you were doing everything else.
Well,
weren't you?
I was happy to work with you during those times. I mean, it really did change your life, going from this extremely successful pop star and writer to suddenly finding this whole new career.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, really. I stepped out of the music and I got into horticulture, really just out of a private passion. Started back in education, went to Capel Manor to study a little bit about plants. And then before I knew it, I was at Chelsea Flower Show doing a little courtyard garden with my co-designer, Richard Lucas.
And winning a gold medal, can we just say?
Yeah. And we did so well.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what a glorious day to be here. It smells gorgeous, you look amazing, the atmosphere is great. I am delighted to be here.
Now, you are a relatively new convert to gardening, aren't you?
I really am. I got my first place in London a few years ago, and you know how it is when you first move into a place, you've got no furniture, and so house plants were the first things that I sort of bought to fill up those empty spaces and liven the place up in a really fresh and decorative way, and ever since I've just been more and more in love with houseplants in particular.
But it also expanded into the garden itself, didn't it?
It really did. When I first moved in, the garden was unloved, let's say, and so I got in there and completely landscaped the place and created a very low maintenance space, but one that always made me feel like I was on holiday, even though I'm in the heart of London. I've got palms and I just love it outside, and I grow like mint and rosemary in the garden, which go great in my cocktails.
Great to talk to AJ, who's clearly really enjoying her garden and would like to get growing some more.
Now, another trend that I'm pleased to see shows no sign of waning at the show is edibles and grow your own.
They've been doing that, haven't they, on the plot to plate garden, where they are growing them and eating them every single day. That's pretty spectacular.
They haven't run out either, have they?
Not
There's
yet.
still plenty on there.
Oh, no.
And then there's the mushroom house on the balanced garden. It's quite incredible, that thing.
It's amazing when you go through the door of the old shipping container. It's that sort of purpley light, and you walk in, and there are pots and pots and pots of these mushrooms that look like they're from another world. I've never seen anything like it.
And then, of course, there's a new buzzword, edimentals, which just means an edible that is also ornamental, which they all are anyway. They're all beautiful things.
Yeah, but we love a buzzword, don't we?
We love a buzzword. Well, one man who is synonymous with his displays of world-class veg and his flowers here at Chelsea is John Wheatley. Dame Mary Berry caught up with him in the Great Pavilion.
The garden is absolutely beautiful. Lovely soft colours, everything just the right height, and a gold medal. Was that exciting this morning?
wonderful. Relief, satisfaction, but isn't it amazing how the plants that have come all from Somerset have come out to flower for the Chelsea Flower Show?
Not only have you won a gold medal here, but you've been awarded the RHS VMH.
Yes, the Victoria Medal of Honour for Horticulture, which commemorates 63 years of Queen Victoria's reign. And yes, I'm very proud to have received it on behalf of all the people and myself.
I came to visit you at Stone Barn a few weeks ago, and I saw the meadow, which looked like a grassy meadow, no sign of a flower. And just look at it now, gorgeous pale colours and a lovely scent.
Yes, I didn't think it was going to make it either, but look at it, it's fabulous. It's just come out for today.
And also, people could grow in a little corner of a garden. You could have a little wild patch.
It needs a bit of sun, but you are so right. The most important thing is to try things. This whole concept of this garden here is to get people to grow and learn about gardening. One of my passions is to involve as many people, new gardeners in urban communities, in the countryside, but particularly in the schools throughout the United Kingdom. We can actually change the world, we can save the planet, but it involves plants and a passion for plants. And I would really encourage people to get involved in gardening as soon as possible.
I recognise that dahlia. It's Ted.
It is Ted, named after my grandson. We've got the tree dahlias here, we've got the ferns, the Angelica.
I remember that. Not too fond of the smell.
No. Then we move on down to the beautiful veg grown by my friend Terry Porter.
Sheer perfection. Just look at those leeks. Well, it's a tremendous example for everybody who visits Chelsea to see this vegetable patch.
Yes, and I think the great thing is you can eat it. And I really would encourage everybody to get involved in gardening and grow veg because it's healthy.
Thank you, John, for showing me this wonderful award-winning garden, gold medal.
Thank you, Mary. It's been a joy to show you around.
Another big hit in the Great Pavilion was the work of the florists, and they certainly brought some amazing creations here. This year, some of them were based around bins and lampposts. There were also some impressive installations. Nikki Chapman caught up with the winners of the RHS Florist of the Year competition.
Well, I'm delighted to be with Charlotte and Vicky, so congratulations.
Thank you.
RHS Chelsea Florist or Florists of the Year. And also another gold. How does it feel?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I can't believe it. We've done it again.
But how long have you two been together? Because you've got quite a few golds under your belt, haven't you, Charlotte?
Yes, 20 years we've been together at my granddad's shop, so a very, very long time. It's been in the family 80 years. It was his granddad's before that.
Wow.
So.
Well, it is obviously a winning combination. Quickly talk us through this marvellous display.
So the design had to be a sustainable design. It's on a metal bin, which is here, you can just see. And then there was no floral foam used at all, so you were not allowed to use floral foam.
Yeah, that's gone, that's history.
Not allowed. So we had to find a new medium which we could use to obviously keep the flowers alive and sustain their life. So we decided to do a bottle appeal. So we basically asked people from local businesses, restaurants, anywhere that could come and bring us bottles, which we've got a huge amount of bottles.
Well, what is so lovely about this is that we can do this at home, can't we?
Yeah.
So some quick tips then for people who want to achieve something like this.
Recycle your wine bottles that you drank at the weekend.
Yes,
clean
very
them
good.
out.
Very good. Get rid of the evidence. Yes.
Clean them out, put them on the windowsill, and get some flowers out the garden.
Yeah, brilliant. Drink responsibly, and then you've got
enjoy
this
the flowers
as a result.
definitely.
It is marvellous. And girls, congratulations.
Thank you.
Some wonderful creations there, as always. And one of the big themes this year was dried flowers, which I have to say made me feel rather nostalgic because I grew up with dried flowers. My mother was a florist. Our house was full of them always.
Alive and dried and all sorts. My mum used to press wildflowers in one of those books. Do you remember? And you'd sort of press them down.
I used to do that.
And then a few months later, you'd reveal them and see what was there.
I wonder if people still do that.
People still do that? Well, there are some wonderful stories here at Chelsea. The gardens are full of them, and we could chat all day about them. I spoke to Cleve West about what inspired his gold-winning creation for the charity Centre Point. After 7 years away, I'm pleased to welcome back to the show Cleve West. Cleve?
Hi, Joe. You all
Lovely
right?
to see you. Why have you come back?
Well, I didn't really want to come back, to be honest.
You would say that.
But I'd sort of taken with Centrepoint's approach, and it's a charity, and they had funding from Project Giving Back, so it was a no-brainer at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's a fabulous garden. People are really talking about your garden.
Good.
A lot.
Good.
So the thought-provoking aspect is definitely working. What's this garden all about?
OK, so it's a very literal take on homelessness. So we've got a demolished house, we've got a fallen tree, which are really strong metaphors for being fragmented and displaced and having your life turned upside down. So it's as simple as that, really. And we've got nature sort of healing all the scars of all this.
Because it feels very nostalgic to me. You know, there's something.
Yeah.
It's sort of somewhere I used to play when I was a kid.
Yeah,
or
me
an
too.
abandoned site.
Exactly.
But and that connection with nature was just sort of so immediate.
Yeah.
How has it been interpreted? I mean, what's the feedback you've been getting for this garden?
Yeah, people are relating to it. I mean, the hearth is like the centre of the house. It represents warmth, love, security. We wanted to make that a feature, that's why you got these strong views. But yeah, people are relating to it in a big way, which is interesting.
And you've got these nest boxes, sculpted by Johnny Woodford.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? And we've had to block them up. We don't want birds nesting, otherwise we won't be able to take the garden down. But happily, that enables us to talk about the fact that homeless people are stigmatised by landlords, so they find it very difficult to get rented property. And also 1 in 10 properties in this borough are empty. So
shocking, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. And we've also got.
There's a soundscape, right?
There's a sound. Yeah, the soundscape which evokes the memory of a family that once lived in this property. And we've got the mural, which has got 120,000 dots, which represents each homeless person in the UK, each young person.
And here we are at the front of the house. So this part, this Victorian style part, this would be the house, which has now been completely taken over by nature. And some of it's, areas that were gardened, and a lot of it's just self-seeded wild plants.
Exactly. This is typical of an urban front garden in London. But we've got all sorts of weeds like Herb Roberts, Sticky Willie. It's all that sort of thing that's going on here, which is showing how biodiversity and nature is coming back in and repairing everything.
Yeah, and what has the reaction been to your garden?
People, so far, everyone's saying they love it, but I want to stand about a few paces back when the public come in to hear what people really think.
It's one of those gardens, you're going to get a reaction. I think it's genius.
Good, thank you.
Well done. Many of the designers here are inspired by how different societies around the world approach gardening. And Adam went to explore the Sanctuary Garden to see 2 very different examples, one from the Mediterranean and the other from Japan.
Come down to the Sanctuary Gardens to find out a little bit more about how societies around the world influence garden design, but also, importantly, connect with nature. In the West, we have a tendency to want to bring the inside out, and this is a classic outside room. But the first thing that jumped out at me was the use of levels. I stepped down into that space. The moment you do, you sit down, you feel more comfortable, you're in the landscape. And then we move from the beautiful to the practical. Well, it's practical and beautiful, but imagine, actually your barbecue's just tucked away. Cook me, put it on, and you're enjoying the garden. We divide space a lot. Here you've got a big, strong wall. That could be a hedge. It could be a timber framework. But then it's like, bang, something in your face. Big focal point that says, come and sit down. I really wasn't expecting that. You're drawn through, and then there's an element of surprise. Elegant water. But it's the surprise that's important, but also the change of atmosphere. I'm now away from the hustle and bustle of the kitchen, so I'm just having a calmer moment. And because I'm sat, my eye line is really connecting me to the plants. This would be a pretty nice place to watch that sun go down. Japanese tend to have a huge respect for their landscape. So when they're creating gardens, it's about bringing that landscape right in, as close as possible, like you can really touch it. Think about the rockwork in here. It's beautiful, but it represents something. Mountains, islands, and then the planting, stunning. They tend to favour more informal design, but it's still balanced. Here, you've got the building. If there wasn't a tree there, this would look quite uncomfortable, so that balances everything up. The water's really close, which is calming, and I know not everybody is going to create a rock fall like that, but that sound is coming from breaking the water. So if you want to create something, if it hits things as it goes down to the bottom sump, that will create the sound. This building is stunning. It's a little tea house just tucked up in the corner, but it's not isolated. The rock work comes in, the walls are green, so it feels really calm. So, are you going east or west? Or maybe just have a little bit of both?
Two incredible small gardens there, and there are plenty more here at Chelsea. And you got to vote for your favourites in the RHS People's Choice Small Garden categories. I caught up with the winner of the Sanctuary and All About Plants gardens. You missed the moment, you weren't here.
I know, well, I had to keep the business running, so I was in a meeting, but my fellow designer, Alex, on the design team, managed to receive it for us.
And there it is. What does it mean to you? Because you are a Chelsea first-timer.
Absolutely. I mean, over the moon. We were so thrilled with the garden already. It's come out better than we could hope, and the public seemed to love it. So, yeah, to actually receive this award, it really means a lot to us.
What do you think it is about your garden that has chimed so much with all these people that have voted?
I think people love the fact that it's edible, and it's something that you can actually imagine in your own home. It's a really natural and you know, we think beautiful space, but you can actually go out and make a meal from it. And I think that is something that you can really kind of take some lessons from and sort of create in any size plot.
And I don't think you were expecting to win it today, were you?
Well, look, we are with School Food Matters charity, and you know, small but mighty, and it's amazing that we got the word out there and that people came and really engaged and seemed to love the garden. So, yeah, it's a great team effort, and no, it's a huge surprise.
Quite clearly,
there,
you've got it in your hands now. And does it make you want to come back again? Will you be going for gold and going for another People's Choice, maybe a bigger garden?
Love to. Yeah, we can only hope. Maybe in a couple of years' time. Yeah.
Well, Harry, absolutely brilliant to have got that award already on your first outing here. Congratulations, and let's hope we see you again.
Thank you very much.
Well, many congratulations to Harry. Now, the Chelsea Showground is huge, with plenty of places to explore. There's hidden corners and innovative exhibits everywhere. And who better to give her unique take on the show than comedian and presenter Mel Gedroych. Yes, we really did let her loose.
So I'm here at Chelsea, and it's all very delightful. It's fragrant, everyone's so smiley, everyone's so kind. There's a lot of making friends, waving at people. I want to find something a little bit grittier, I think. This is a really, really cool garden. John and Steve designed this. I sound like I know them. I don't, I feel I do. But they've created this beautiful oasis in a kind of urban setting. And apparently there are mushrooms. Let's have a look, come on. I'm going in, I'm on my own, come on. I mean, this is in... They look like they're kind of just escaping out of these plastic bins. They're slightly sinister in a very beautiful way, if you know what I mean. Look at these little badgers. They're like little sort of cakes, flans that have gone off in a good way. It's just something very different, and that is what Chelsea's all about. The smell is glorious. I'm getting stocks. I think I'm getting sweet peas. A lot of roses. And I think I might have a little whiff of Mary Berry. Just saying, this speaks to me, gang. I love this. It's really sort of natural. The Botanic Nursery Digitalis, which is foxglove, I think, isn't it? Yeah, foxglove. It's very cooling here. Yes, this is lovely. Good chlorophyll. Is that the right word? Good chlorophyll. Lovely. This is a very mellow, lovely spectrum. Love a fern. Love a fern. Right, I must stop touching other people's displays and let's move on. Floristry, come on. Guys, this is floristry with a little bit of an edge. Scaffolding poles. Wow. Scaffolding and rubble underneath the flowers. Pretty powerful, eh? Quite like that. It's very much like the texture of my hair. Slightly dry, a few split ends. This is quite groovy though. I like the neon lights. Seems to be another film crew there. Probably Mary Berry's. Right, where is Berry? Where is she? I think I found her. Right, these look amazing. They look like enormous umbrellas or kind of hats. Wouldn't you like to wear one? I'd love to get one of those on my head. I'm not going to, but look at the, oh man. Come on. Chrysanths, guys. Wowzers. Oh, Chelsea. We've had such a lovely time. Thank you very much for having me. If I had to pick one highlight, I'm going to say, I think it was the Mary Berry display. It was a beautiful, fragrant, wonderful gold medal winning display that she put on. Stunning.
She definitely enjoyed herself, her day at Chelsea.
Can you imagine hanging out with her for the whole day here? It'd be absolutely brilliant.
How can you not have fun here, to be fair?
True. Well, away from the RHS medals, the big award that all the main show garden designers wanted to win was the BBC RHS People's Choice Award. And this year, there were some really big contenders.
There really were, and people voted in their thousands. But there could only be one winner. And here is the moment that we surprised them. We are here. We have the award. The great thing about this garden is there are plenty of lovely places to hide. So the person we're about to surprise has no idea we are here. Let's go.
Well, who better to talk about arts and crafts being incorporated into our garden than Chris Beardshaw. Chris, you got a lot of materials and a lot of detailing, and you got a gold medal. So the judges obviously...
Excuse me, this has nothing to do with arts and crafts at all, Chris Beardshaw.
I'm sensing a slight diversion.
Congratulations. You have been voted the BBC RHS People's Choice Award winner. Well done. Well done. Thank
you very much.
There we go.
I feel as I've been stitched up.
It's not for the first time, though, is it? Let's face it.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, well, I'm lost for words, which, as you know, is a rarity. But no, well, thank you to everybody who supported the garden, all of my team who just worked tirelessly, all of those people who appreciate a nicely curated garden, somewhere where you get that sort of transformative space, and of course, everyone who's been touched with myeloma.
What does it mean to you, though, to get the People's Award?
It is the most important. I mean, over the years, it's a 10th gold medal. I can't remember how many People's Choices we've got, but it's quite a few. And it's always the most important because that's what we're here for. We design gardens for gardeners, for people, and to provoke that sort of reaction. So if people have walked by or seen it on your coverage and enjoyed it and loved it, then I'm thrilled.
Well, I think everybody loves it, and it's a very important message you're getting across. And yes, that means it's resonated with the people who've come to the show, all the viewers at home. You know, it means that they've picked up the phone and they've gone online and they've actually voted for you.
Well, I think I said to you earlier in the week, I didn't expect to get a gold medal, but this was even less expected.
Oh, well, it's very... Isn't it your 13th garden here?
13th garden. And,
definitely not unlucky, was it?
Well,
no,
and we keep saying That's the last one.
It won't.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah,
you
it's definitely the last one.
This
so,
is definitely not
see you
the
next
last.
year.
See you next year. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank
well
you very
done.
much.
Hold it in the air.
Thank you very much.
Well, what a beautiful garden and a very well-deserved winner of your People's Choice this year. That was a lovely end to the week, wasn't it?
It really was. That is it from us for another year. It's been an amazing week, and we hope that you've enjoyed everything this year's show has had to offer.
But it's goodbye for now from us and the whole BBC team until Chelsea is back again in 2024.
See you then. Until then, goodbye.